how everything kind of shakes out. So there you go. All right, let's jump into some salary cap talk. You guys know last night we talked salary cap on the offensive side of the ball. Tonight we're going to key in on defense. And again, the whole point of this exercise, we do these in the offseason to kind of give ourselves an idea and give us a jump start on exactly what the Packers' plan may be going into next offseason. And again, that starts with this coming up training camp. Which players are you going to extend? Like last night, we came to pretty much the conclusion that, look, we would love to have Malik Willis back, but if it's over $5 to $8 million, he's probably going to be walking in free agency, right? We talked about wide receiver. I think the majority of people, if he proves he's healthy, want Christian Watson to get extended to some extent. It might be a 1 year, kind of bridge contract to make sure he can hold up healthy. It may be some folks like me that I think at the right price, if he proves he's healthy at the end of this year, and let's go ahead and give him like a 3-year extension. That was a player that came up over Romeo Dobbs and over a couple other players like McCole Hardman. Tight end position, we're pretty snug there in terms of starters. Offensive line was interesting. We came up with, obviously, we want to re-sign Zach Tom. There's a good chance that you just let Rasheed Walker walk, no pun intended, into free agency, or at least test it out. If there's no market there, then great. You get him back. You make him the best offer and get him an awesome deal. So just an example of why we do that type of stuff going into the current training camp is to see, all right, which players are we looking to potentially re-sign this training camp or before the year is up in 2025. So on the defensive side of the ball, let's start with the defensive line position. I apologize to the chat. I wish I could be a little more engaged with you guys tonight. You know how it is when I'm solo. I don't want any dead air for the folks that are on the podcast. I'm trying to check out the chat in real time, but thank y'all so much for interacting with each other in there and contributing to the poll question. If y'all would hit that like button for us. And if you're new here, sub to the channel. We go live daily for the most part. That's our goal. So even in the off season, we're going live to give you guys Packers content 365 days a year as best we can. Some cases twice a day we'll go live. So if you like daily Packers content, if you're sick of people now immediately shifting focus to the Milwaukee Brewers and in somehow, some way trying to make that exciting sports talk, you guys know I'm a baseball guy, but man, I just can't handle sports talk geared around baseball. It's just It's tough on me. So if you're getting tired of that type of stuff, understand we're going to talk football here. We're going to talk Packers. We're not professionals. We're not media members. We're not coaches or anything like that. Obviously, we're what you guys are. We're fans, right? This is for the fans, by the fans. So we appreciate y'all tuning in and hanging out with us. Defensive line. Here's what I want to key in on, same as the offense. Notice this 2026 column, okay? That's what we really, really want to key in on. As a matter of fact, I may try to zoom it in a little bit, make it a little bit easier to see. So Kenny Clark is the big elephant in the room, right? This year's cap hit is only $20.3 million. But look in 2026, it's going to jump to $31.3 million. And then in 2027, it drops back down to $27.1 million. Now, when we look at his cap hit, right, and in terms of his exact contract, next year, they're showing a potential out after this year. And the reason being is in 2026, when you see this cap number inflate to $31.3 million, yes, that's his cap hit, but the dead cap attached is only $17 million. So for quick math here, let me break out my handy dandy calculator without too much dead time. If you guys can't tell, I hate dead time on a podcast, man. I try to do my best to keep it rolling. You're going to free up roughly $14 million if you just cut him out right next year. So that's why there's a potential out immediately following the 2025 season. So you see that 31.3 and go, oh crap, we're in trouble. And here's the thing. It doesn't mean we're going to cut him outright. It could be a restructure. We've seen that. You get him to lower the overall number and you give him a little bit more guaranteed, write him a signing bonus check. You can spread that over the duration of the contract, kick it on over to 2027 if you find yourself in trouble. We've talked about the salary cap. It'll come into focus as we get closer to the 2026 season. But right now, after the draft class is accounted for, since we absorbed Jair Alexander's $17 million dead cap penalty this year, it's looking like next year I feel really comfortable after the draft class saying we're going to be sitting at about $40 million in cap space. Okay. And some people see that and go, oh, we're rich. No, 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 no. That's not a whole lot of money. It's enough to make a move or two. Don't get me wrong. But when you're looking to extend players and we know how much Brian Gutekunst loves his own free agents, you probably, you could probably land one, maybe two free agents, kind of like you did this year, if you find yourself needing that. Here's the other thing. We could be looking at the end of the year with great news and going, man, look, we had a great year. We made it to the Super Bowl, or maybe we make it to the NFC Championship, or who knows, maybe we win the whole damn thing. If that happens, then you're probably going to look up and go, okay, where do we need to trim some fat off the roster, free up a little more cap space? Who do we want to extend? Let's don't go spend a bunch of money in free agency. Let's run this thing back with a new draft class and expect these guys to mature at another level. That's how dynasties are built. So, again, with Kenny, I think there's a decent chance he'll be back next year. I just don't think it'll be at 31.3. Praise sweet baby Jesus, right? Because that cap number is just, whoo. Now, he may come out this year without the toe injury that he dealt with all the way back to week 1. He played with it all year long. We've seen some design touch spies from him, engaging into double teams, playing him in the one tech and the nickel 4-2-5 to force them to double team him, and them not knowing that he couldn't even drive off of that foot with the pass rush. I think that's brilliant by half, if indeed that is what happened. When you put all the puzzle pieces together, it feels like that's what happened to me. Because you guys remember on Chalk Talk this year, we sat around a year going, yeah, Kenny's playing a touch spy there. I can't give him a negative mark for playing a touch spy. And if you guys are wondering what a touch spy is, he didn't do it 100% of the time. There was a lot of snaps where when he lines up in the one tech in the nickel 4-2-5, which means he's between the guard and the center, they're going to go 97's a Tuesday player. That's typically how offenses have looked at him in the past. He is definitely our best interior defensive lineman when he's healthy. So what they'll do is they'll trigger a double team between the guard and the center. With a touch spy, what he's going to do is engage with that double team, touch, and then he's just going to kind of slap fight and hold his ground and keep his eyes on the quarterback. And if they run the ball, his total focus is going to be a punch and drift. And what I mean by that is he's going to punch the offensive lineman or the double team, see where the running back's going, and just drift into that lane and try to make the tackle, as opposed to just pinning his ear back and going after the quarterback. So, again, this is not making excuses for Kenny. I've been very vocal. I didn't think they should have extended him. But after hearing, like with the season he had statistically last year, you go, yeah, we were right. Sucks to be right in that situation, right? But then when you find out about the injury, you go, that makes sense with all the touch spine last year. So Devontae Wyatt will be under contract next year, $12.9 million for the fifth-year option there that the Green Bay Packers picked up on Devontae Wyatt. So he is under contract. Kobe Wooden's under contract. Carl Brooks, Baron Sorrell, Nesta Jade Silvera, whoever the hell that is, he's a restricted free agent. You got Colin Oliver is listed as a defensive end. Now, keep in mind, they've got the defensive ends listed here as well, and you got to kind of filter through this a little bit, okay? When we're looking at defensive line, they've still got Rashawn Gary as a linebacker on here, okay? So we're going to have to work through this ourselves and determine who is an edge position player, who is an interior defensive lineman position player, okay? So Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, Kobe Wooden, Carl Brooks, Nesta Jade Silvera, Warren Brinson, Nazir Stackhouse, Keith Randolph Jr., James Nestor, Deslin Alexander, they are all interior defensive linemen, even though some of them are listed as defensive end because they may be looking to play them at like a 4-eye look, right? A 4-eye to a 3-tech. And sometimes you'll be shaded over to one side of the formation, and that technically makes them a defensive end. I love Spot Track, but there's so many websites that are so out of date with not updating to edge, interior, and stack backer. So we'll filter through that. So again, when you look at the contracts coming due next year, the interior defensive line have nobody coming due. When I mean next year, I mean at the end of this year, right? It's set to be free agents. So you're probably looking at getting a deal done for our boy Devontae Wyatt to extend him beyond this year, okay? I would imagine that's pretty high on the priority list for the Green Bay Packers. You do not want to have to franchise tag Devontae Wyatt next season. So I think what will most likely happen is Kenny Clark's number will come down. You're going to pay Devontae Wyatt an extension that'll probably offset that, which is totally fine. And if you cut Kenny outright next year, you're looking for someone to step into that role. And who knows, maybe you go into the draft next year or free agency next year and try to get one of those guys that can fill that void of Kenny. I think he'll be back. I think they're just going to restructure that, and 2027 will be the year that we move on. Now, if Kenny comes out this year, he's healthy, and he still rushes the quarterback like cheeks, and he has a down year, the writing's on the wall. They'll probably move on because, again, Goody likes to move on 1 year too soon rather than 1 year too late. So that's how the defensive line kind of shakes out. All right. So, again, it feels like Devontae Wyatt is going to be the anchor moving forward in the future. Kenny Clark, you'll probably have him for 1 more year. Carl Brooks and Kobe Wooden, in my opinion, unless they're going to take pennies on the dollar in terms of an extension, they haven't shown enough to warrant starter money. So you're probably going to have to let them test the market and make a decision on whether or not you want to bring them back. So I want to mention Colin Oliver. He's a hybrid player, okay? And we're done with interior defensive linemen. Think now in terms of edge defenders, and we'll mix and match these in here so we know exactly what we're talking about. Barron Sorrell and Colin Oliver will most likely be edge defenders, although Colin Oliver is a hybrid backer, so he can play stack backer as well. So keep that in mind right there. So when we start to break down the edge room, you've got 2 that are on this list, Colin Oliver and Barron Sorrell, that are under contract next year, obviously. So let's move on to stack backer. And this is what you got, edge defender. This is what we're doing now is edge. See how they've got outside linebacker still listed as if we're running a 34 defense. So you got to ignore that. We're just going to change that OLB to edge, other than Isaiah McDuffie, who we know is a true stack backer. All right, and it's going to get a little bit tricky, but I think we can accomplish it here. So coming back next year, Rashawn Gary at $28 million cap hit. Lucas Van Ness next year, a $5.5 million cap hit. You've got, after that, Kingsley Enagbare walking in free agency, most likely. You're going to have our boy Brenton Cox Jr. is a restricted free agent. Thank God. He'll be back. I guarantee you that. Aaron Mosby's a restricted free agent. They'll probably bring him back. They like him a lot. And then you've got Christian Welch as a stack backer. So, again, you're going to have Barron Sorrell, Colin Oliver. That's 2. Rashawn Gary, LVN. That's 4. Okay. And then you're going to have Brenton Cox Jr. and Aaron Mosby. That is 6. So you've got 6 edge defenders under contract next year. Now you've got to start thinking early, are we going to hit LVM with the 5th-year option? The 5th-year option for the edge defense, the edge position will be linebacker technically, okay? So if somebody wants to look this up for me in the chat, I'd greatly appreciate it. Look at the 5th-year option number for linebackers this year, okay? And it'll probably inflate a little bit next year, but that'll give us a good guesstimate of what LVN's 5th-year option would be if they indeed do want to activate that. Think Quay Walker this year. You guys remember there should be some articles written out there that talks about what Quay Walker's 5th-year option would have been, and the Packers did not obviously activate it. And the reason being is because, just like here with Spot Track, they group edge, outside linebackers, and 3-4 defenses, and they group stack backers to come up with that number. So if we can find out what that number is, I'll try to keep my eye on the chat to see if that's something that's reasonable to pick up. I imagine it's going to be fairly high, probably around 15 million, I would say. Chris says 24. Wow, you may be right, Chris. You may be right. Let me just do a quick Google search here. We'll go 5th-year option. Year option linebacker NFL. Let's see if we get anything here. 5th-year option projection, playtime, blah, 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 blah. Some of it does come down to playtime too. Trayvon Walker, what class is this? This is why I try not to look stuff up myself, because it's going to be some dead air here. Chris the Casual may have it. Let's see here. For the 2025 NFL season, the 5th-year option for linebacker selected in the first round of the 2022 draft is $24 million, according to Pro Football Network. You're the man, Chris. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Solder confirms there. And I believe Bates is – let's see what Bates has got. Quay Walker, linebacker, Packers number 22 overall, option declined. Packers aim for a long-term extension instead of the $14.7 million guaranteed salary. which would have ranked 7 among inside linebackers. So, that's interesting. We got 2 conflicting numbers there, right? So now maybe it looks like, Chris, you're hitting the projection, right? Looks like you might have gotten what they're projecting it to be. So, and Bates says his was AI. I'm with you on that, Bates. Like AI is choppy at best. So let's go with Chris's number there. Okay. Let's go with Chris's number and say that the projection is 24 million. Oh, wait, nope. Chris comes back. I think it's actually 14.5 million. Okay. To me, that seems more reasonable in terms of a backer, right? Now the question is, defensive end, does it get grouped in with defensive line? If so, then that would fall under around about the Devontae Wyatt number at 12. So 14, we're covering the bases. All right. So let's call it 15 million. So if you decide to pick up that 5th-year option with Lucas Van Ness, you're looking at about $15 million cap hit fully guaranteed for that year. I imagine the Packers would want to extend him instead of doing that. But again, I thought they would want to do that with Devontae Wyatt, and they picked it up, right? So it's tough. Precedent would suggest they're going to pick up that 5th-year option on LVN. I would hope they can work out a deal to make it more salary cap friendly, although you could still spread it out. We've seen that with Darnell Savage when they extended him or when they gave him the 5th-year option. So, yeah, I'm with you. Holmes says the 14 figure makes sense. I think it does too. The 24 seemed a little high. So, yeah, here we go. Deadfish says 50% of the snaps in each of the first 3 seasons is 16.1 million. There is snap incentives and things like that comes into play as well. So I think we got a pretty good grab on it. So with LVN, you're looking at roughly 15 million. So with that being said, I think they're going to look to keep LVN. Listen, he was breaking in on 12% pressure rate on the entire year. The second half of the season, he was closer to 15% pressure rate, according to NFL Pro. It's just the first half he kind of struggled, took a little bit of time to get going. I think they see him as an ascending player, and we know that's huge to front offices in the National Football League. So LVN's one that's going to get extended. Gary is kind of in the same boat as a Kenny Clark. Now, Gary has been much more productive, both especially in the running game, but also the pass rush last year, leading the team in sacks, leading the team in quarterback pressures, leading the team in run stops. Still had a down year, which shows you how good Gary's been. There was one year he had like a 19% pressure rate. Last year he had 13, which is still anything over 10% is considered really good. So I'm not saying that his play would suggest they would do something in that number. I just think going into the next to last year of that deal, you're probably looking to do some kind of restructure to bring that number down if you find yourself in a little bit of salary cap trouble, okay, if you do get a little bit aggressive. But I think Gary will be back. I think LVM will be back. Moving on, Baron Sorrell, obviously rookie, he'll be there. Colin Oliver, that hybrid, he'll be there. Brenton Cox Jr. will be back. Aaron Mosby will be back. The question now becomes, do you try to extend Brenton Cox Jr. after the restricted free agency's picked up? That's going to be the big question there. And I think you want to look to replace Aaron Mosby. I don't think he's been near as effective as Brenton Cox Jr. personally. So that's how the edge room looks. Let me hit the super chat real quick, and then we'll get into the secondary, which they've got grouped together. Me don't like you that, Jan. Super chat from Dan. I'm not going to disrespect the last name of me being a dumb redneck, not being able to read it correctly, sir, but thank you for hanging out. He says, hello from Sweden. Oh, it's awesome. We could put it on the banner. Let me make a note, and we'll do it after the show, that we've got a listener from Sweden now, man. We got people from all over the world. It's absolutely awesome. He says, thanks for the content. Your pod is always the first choice every morning when I bike to work. Go Pack, go. Dan, thank you so much for the kind words, man. And that is a very, very kind, very generous donation there. We really, really appreciate that. And again, it's awesome that never would have thought we'd be in and I'm going to sound like a boomer here. I'm going to sound like an old man, but remember when I used to listen to sports talk radio when I was in my car on AM radio, right? I remember had a little handheld headset I would wear to work when I worked for the Postal Service. The early 2000s, had to constantly change out the AA batteries in that sucker just to be able to hear sports talk. And now it's literally, we go live and instantly someone in Sweden is being able to listen on YouTube or wherever. It's just absolutely awesome. So, Dan, thank you so much, buddy.